Welcome back to the Granny's Legacy studio. I'm Katie here today working on the third video tutorial for our week 1 of the Fantasy project. So this is the third video, but it is still for week 1. We just divided them up into different sections so you can tackle one step and then watch another video and tackle another step. So this is the third tutorial for week 1, and we are going to be stitching the center star medallion to create gorgeous lines for embroidering the design. So as you can see, we've moved over to our sewing machine. So we have our black background circle. We have our press and seal template that we traced. And then we are going to get ready to stitch on the lines. So to do this, you will need, I believe the pattern says a medium gray color thread. You can use a medium gray. We're going to use kind of a beavery brown color. Just something in the more medium. When you stitch vines over it and when you're stitching it with green, because you'll stitch over top of it, we just want to make sure that it's a color that's not going to stand out. So you wouldn't want to use like a red or a purple, but anything in the neutral tones will be just fine. So we have a beavery brown, and then you're also going to want to lower your stitch length to 1.9. So you're going to want to make your stitches small, and that will make it easier to remove the press and seal wrap. So I'm going to take and lower my stitches to 1.9. There we go. And you'll also want to use your needle down. So make sure that you're starting and stopping with your needle down. So I set my machine to do that. And then I'm just going to start stitching, and I'm just going to start. I'll pull out and show you. Oh, my needle was already down. So I'm just going to start in the middle and then stitch like figure eights and then do this one. So when I come back, I just switch to the next. You can see that. So that's doing those 4. And then once I get those 4 all stitched, I'll jump up and I'll stitch this one and then kind of just jump across and then stitch this one and then leap across and stitch this, leap across. You get what I'm saying. And then so we'll do that. So line it up on your machine. So I lowered to 1.9. My stitch length is 1.9. My needle is down. And you're just going to stitch right along your drawn line. And accuracy here is pretty important. So take your time and pivot and all those good things that you learned in school or from your grandma, or in my case, my great grandma that taught me how to sew, Granny. We were thinking about Granny yesterday because it was April Fool's Day yesterday. And Granny, you may not know, is the lady that our cute little company here is named after. Her name was Doris. And she was a sewing teacher for Singer. And when I came to the middle, you're going to want to make sure all your points come to the same spot when you cross. So she taught for Singer in the 30s and 40s. And she was a stickler for detail and perfection. So, and she was a fun lady. A trickster. She was a jokester and a trickster, yes. And April Fool's was her day. And she was not cute, nice, there's a deer in your backyard, April Fool's type lady. No, she would play jokes and tricks and almost mean. Is that how you describe it? She got the jokes, man. It was her day. She liked joking. So I'm coming to the middle again. I'm going to switch to my next petal. Looking good, Kim? Mm-hmm. Okay. And now I'm coming into my 4th petal, just crossing over. Come to the top, and I'm going to switch to go back down. coming around. Okay, so then I'm going to put my needle up and move over to one of the inside petals, or the petals that's not connected in the middle. And you don't need to reverse or back up to lock your stitches when you switch, correct? Wanted to make sure.
Or cut your threads and go back that way.
Cut all your threads at the same time?
At the end.
Yep, at the end we'll cut them all. Keep forgetting I have a knee lift. So I do my knee lift, then I also reach back here. See, I did it again. And we're almost done, friends. We only have 2 petals left. So we're doing good here. It goes pretty quick. And this is a step you'll thank us that you didn't skip, because it's going to make your project so awesome to work with. It'll just be a breeze. Everything's going to be so easy for you. You won't believe it.
You can see how good the crescent seal sticks.
Yeah, it's sticking really good. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna see. I keep doing that. Switch over to my last petal here. Then flip back around. There we go. Bring our needle up. And then I'm going to take my little snipper here and snip. And do the same underneath. And then I'm going to tuck this under my machine. I'm not going to sew again, but it'll just be out of the way then. Okay. And then I'm just going to take and snip all my little jump around threads and get them out of the way. You don't need to knot them. And I'm just getting really as close as I can to the press and seal. Okay. My grandma always taught me to have a garbage can next to my sewing machine to put those in. Cool containers work well. And the same thing on the back, just because you wouldn't see it, but neatness matters, at least in my way I was taught. So I'm just going to snip the back ones to a little pile at least have a neat pile. There we go. And then we're going to flip her back over. And here comes the magical part. This is just going to peel right off for you. Because you shortened your stitch length, it'll just should peel pretty accurately. Now I've discovered that you can kind of just go like this a little bit and don't tug too hard or it'll pull your stitches out. But if you just kind of loosen that, it'll pop right out of those seams for you. Then if you do have a little bit left, you can either pinch it, or I keep my fingernails really short because I have little kids. Little tweezers, you'll get that right out of the seam. Kim, do you have any other tips for that?
I just use a pin, and by the time I get around to stitching it, it'll be loosened up enough to come off.
Yeah. So it just kind of tugs right out of there. You get it loose. I have no fingernails, like I said. I don't bite them, I promise.
So you can see how nice of a star it makes it out.
Yep. I'll get this little piece whipped out of here, and then you'll be able to see what you're left with here. And like Kim said, a little pin too would pull that right out of there. So. And then you're left with a beautiful star once you're done peeling. And we know it's, because we lined it up with that center dot, we know it's centered. And because we traced the paper exactly, we know that it's exactly the way it needs to be. So you'll be ready once you get it peeled off. You'll be ready for the next step. So check back soon and watch our next step for week 1. Thank you.